Hi there, I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. If you're feeling drained, hesitant, stuck in self-doubt, or you just have a case of the vlogs, the Art of Badassery podcast is here to help you unleash your mojo once and for all. We'll provide you with tips, techniques, and real-life examples of how you can kick ass in all areas of your life. You'll learn how to flex your mental muscles, rise above fears, and turn setbacks into superpowers. So let's enter the dojo and let's get to work. Welcome everyone to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. And today it's another solo episode with just me. Hi everyone. Today we want to talk about morning routines, specifically a short little framework that I have for you to either uplevel your current routine or to create one. And before you cringe, right, when I talk about morning routines, just know this, that this is not the Huberman Lab. This is the Jenn Cassetta Lab. I've worked with people over 2 decades and I know what works. What works is starting off slow and steady, right? Slow and steady wins the race. A tortoise taught us all that when we were 5 years old. But for some reason, a lot of these experts out there, they want you to feel like if you are not doing something at a level 10 or higher, right? If you're not doing something so extreme, then you're not doing enough. And guess what? Like I said, after coaching people for 2 decades, I know that that's not true. I know that steadily building habits over years and years and years, baby steps at a time, actually lasts and actually becomes so much part of your lifestyle that you never really feel like you're working at it anymore. You feel like you're in the flow. So, as I start sharing this framework with you today, which is 3 P's of a badass morning routine, I invite you and encourage you to listen and see how this framework can help you with your lifestyle parameters. This morning routine can take up as little or as much time as you allow for it. There'll be ways to adjust it to your lifestyle and fit it into your life. So you don't have to feel like if you mess up, right? There's no way to mess it up. If you don't do it one day, that's okay. It's right back on to the next. I'm going to give you, like I said, these 3 P's as a framework. And within each P, I'm going to give you options, different options. Think of it like a menu where you can choose, try things on, experiment with, and like I said, over time, build this out into your lifestyle. Morning routines are really important. And like I said, I know that we hear about them with like the top CEOs and what their morning routines are. And you have to get up at 4 a.m. and do all these crazy things. No, no, no. The importance is starting your day intentionally, right? Using discernment, filling your cup up first before you fill anyone else's, right? Putting your needs, wants, and desires first, making your health and well being, mentally, physically, and spiritually, a priority before everyone else's. And I know a lot of you out there are listening already, like fighting that, right? Fighting back, going, but no, 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 I have kids and I have this and I have that, and I'm caretaking and I have work and I have emails. All these things happen as soon as I get up. And I'm just going to again invite you to take a look at how having a morning routine of prioritizing your self-care might give you a little more peace, a little more focus, a little more positivity each day. Without a consistent morning routine, basically everything's going to be screaming for your attention. And whatever's screaming the loudest will probably get it. Or you're one of those people, guilty as charged, who picks up the phone right away. I still do that sometimes, but I won't respond to anything before I start my morning routine. So again, and I'll also be sharing what my current routine is as well. That has developed over years and years. Right? I didn't start out this way. So again, just give yourself grace if you're starting from zero and think how you can start with baby steps. Love this quote, which kind of sums up the need for a morning routine in my eyes. It's by someone named Ian Thomas. And it says, and every day the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. And you need to worry about this and this and this. And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, no, this is what's important. So, everyone, try that right now. Just put your hand on your heart, unless you're driving with two hands on the wheel. And remember that this is important first and foremost, because when you fill your cup up first, you can show up for your family, for your friends, for your work, for everyone else as your best self, right? Not the burned out, cranky, agitated person because you're just giving, 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 right? The filled up, the confident, the energized, the most badass version of yourself. So, are you ready for the three P's? The first P, you know what? I'm just going to tell you what they are, just so you know what you're getting into. Just so you know, like, this is worth the investment of time to listen to this whole podcast. Okay. So, the first P stands for presence. The second is positivity. And the third is, can you guess? Protein. Yep. I fooled you there for a second. But let's start with that first P, presence. To be fully present in the here and now. First thing I do during my morning routine. What does that mean? What does that look like? It means not worrying about the future being even that day. What needs to get done? What's going to happen? What can go wrong? What needs to happen that day, that week, that year? What might happen if things go wrong, etc. And also not living in the past, not lamenting about the past. What went wrong yesterday or last week, or when you were wronged when you were 10 years old, right? Presence is simply being in the here and now, and now, and now. Each moment is its own present moment. But how do we cultivate a practice of presence? Well, there are lots of ways. I'm going to give you a menu. Three things, right? Three things for each P. Three ways to cultivate presence each morning. One, breath work. Two, meditation of some sort. Three, a gratitude practice. Let's break down each one. Breath work. You can do this first P, just so you know, while you're still in bed. You can cultivate presence while still being in bed. Not on your phone, obviously, not thinking about the future or the past, but just doing some breath work in bed. What does that look like? Lots of different styles of breath work. You can use an app or simply just be focused on your inhale and focused on your exhale. You want to amp that up a little bit, count it out. And now there's different options, right? So there's something called box breathing where you inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. Looks like a box if you were to draw that out with your hand. I practice 4 by 7 by 8. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, exhale for a count of 8. Because most people have heard of box breathing, but not the other, let's try the 4 by 7 by 8, right? Just test it out. So again, you can do this while you're driving. In fact, I recommend you do it while you're driving, while you're walking, while you're doing the dishes, any time of day. Just remember, you can inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. You can exhale through the nose. Doesn't really matter. But as you inhale, make sure you fill up and expand the belly. And as you exhale, let it go. Ready? Let's do one cycle. And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very good. How did that feel? I recommend starting out slow. Start with 3 cycles of whichever count that you choose. Start with 3 cycles, especially if you felt dizzy that time. Some people feel dizzy right away because they're not used to holding their breath that long. Start out even slower. 1 cycle. Next week, do 3 cycles. The next week, do 5 cycles. And maybe get to 10 cycles of breath work. What you're doing is down regulating the nervous system. You're helping your brain and body relax so you can get into different states of thinking. So you can get tapped into your prefrontal cortex, which is in control of logical thinking, creative thinking. This is where you start to really relax and get maybe intuitive thoughts or creative thoughts. They usually pop up right when you're most relaxed in the shower, out for walks, etc. Well, this can initiate that response, that relaxation response in your body first thing in the morning. Second practice can be meditation. Sidebar, how I start my morning, I have a meditation routine that habit stacks, right? If you're a listener of this podcast, you've probably heard me talk about habit stacking before. I love to combine habits, right? Stack them on top of each other. Got that from Atomic Habits, James Clear. I mean, I was doing it, I just didn't know the name for it. But essentially, I'll start out with those cycles of breath. I do about 10 cycles of breath. Then I go right into my meditation, right? I call it all the whole meditation, but it starts with the breath work, then meditation. Now, for you, what type of meditation is going to work for you? Depends. There are so many to try. Some people just like to sit and be aware of their thoughts or their breath. I find that difficult to do, right? I find it really difficult to think that, oh my God, I'm supposed to not have any thoughts right now. So there's a thought, let it go. So instead, I focus my thoughts on something. So I start with a little gratitude. Again, that's the third menu item, gratitude. I start to think of things that I'm grateful for because again, I'm already relaxed. Now the gratitude starts to bring up really great feelings in my body. When you're thinking of people you're grateful for or pets or anything like that, all of a sudden different hormones are going to be released like oxytocin, right? Start to feel these feelings of love and connectivity. It's amazing. And then my particular meditation, I go into visualization after that. So I start to visualize things that I would like to happen in the future. That could be the future day, that could be the future 5 years from now, or 1 year from now, or whatever it is. I try not to put timelines on and date stamps on my visualizations. It's just like, this is what I'm working towards, right? That's my meditation practice. Again, you can try if you're still in bed. You could just throw on a guided meditation if that's what you want to do. And again, I don't really recommend doing this from bed. I think it can be best if you're really awake and present and upright. However, if you're like, this is the only way I'm going to make it work, because the minute I get out of bed, my dogs start barking. The minute I get out of bed, the kids know that, I'm accessible to them, whatever that is. If you need to do it in bed, make it work. Throw on a guided meditation. I use Insight Timer. I've talked about that before. There's meditations on an app called Mind Valley. I've had the co-founder on this podcast, Christina Mandlakiani. Go on YouTube. Simply put in whatever you want to feel that day. Do you want to feel abundant? Abundance meditations. Do you want to feel grateful? Gratitude meditations, right? There's so many free things to choose from. But just again, to cultivate some type of presence in the morning. So, how long did that take, that first P? Again, as little or as long as you'd like. Breath work, 1 cycle, 10 cycles. It could take less than 30 seconds up to 5 minutes or longer. The whole meditation, how long do you want to sit there and meditate? In my Burnout to Badass 8-week group coaching course that I run about 3 times a year, we start out with 1 minute meditations. 2 weeks later, we change it to 3, to 5, to 7, to 10 over 8 weeks' time. Even that could be quick for some people. So again, start slow, start baby steps. The magic is in the consistency. Doing something every single day is going to work for you so much more over time than doing a 20-minute meditation on Sundays and forgetting it for the rest of the week because you don't have time, right? So fitting baby steps in. So yeah, that's my morning routine. I get out of bed, I sit and I start my meditation that consists of these 3 parts: breathing, gratitude, then visualization. This is before my coffee. So then, like, the coffee is almost like the reward. That's another part of Atomic Habits in James Clear book. Having that reward after you do something like that. I even had a client that I coached. She really wanted to get her movement in the morning. She wanted to go for a walk. She wanted to do something with her body. And I said, okay, what do you love so much in the morning? Coffee. Great. Before you have your coffee, go for your walk. That way you're encouraging yourself. You're giving yourself that reward afterwards. I've also heard about that from, I can't remember who it was, but someone who was writing a book, right? Before he was able to eat his breakfast, he had to write a certain number of pages because then the breakfast was like the reward, right? So love it. If that helps, if that helps you do your presence, try it on. The second P stands for positivity, cultivating a positive mindset first thing in the morning, right? Not only helps you set your state for the day, but it's also good for your health. You can train your brain to look for the positive, to focus on the positive. That will help you in so many ways, right? You know this. You know that nobody likes to be around the negative person, right? Negative people that are always looking for what's wrong, etc. Nobody likes that. I don't even like to be around myself when I'm in a negative mindset. But I have to cultivate this positive mindset. It doesn't necessarily just come naturally to people. It can, depending on how you grew up, but for most people it doesn't. You actually we work on this, right? And then all of a sudden, when you have that positive mindset, most of the time, I don't think anyone has it all of the time. When you start having it more and more and more, you start attracting people in your life, right? Good people, people that want to be around that energy, like minded people, more positive people, because you're just radiating this positive energy. You'll probably start to repel negative ones too, which is also an added bonus. But those health benefits, back to the health benefits. Studies show that positivity and a positive mindset can increase your lifespan. You can live longer. You will have lower rates of depression. That's pretty obvious. Lower levels of distress and pain. Actual pain in your body will go down. Greater resistance to illnesses because your immune system is boosted and is able to fight off bugs and illness. Better psychological and physical well being. Yeah, duh. And better coping skills during hardships and times of stress, AKA resilience. Building resilience is probably one of the most important things I would think as we get older in life and life just keeps coming at us with all these things. The more resilient you can be, right? The more you can kind of go with the flow or get back up after being knocked down. There's a lot to say about that and a resilient person. That's it's really priceless skill to have. So, need I say more? So, how do we do it? Right? What are some menu options of how to cultivate positivity first thing in the morning? Well, lots of ways. First and foremost, affirmations, right? Just speaking to yourself in a very positive, affirming way. The second one is a battle cry. For me, that just means having affirmations on steroids. So, not just one or two or three sentences, but I'm talking a whole list, paragraphs upon paragraphs of affirmations. If you've heard my keynote or read the book, you know where I get that battle cry from. You know where I get that term out or where I borrowed that term from. Kelly Heron Lieberman, her episode is, I think, number 5, where we talk about her affirmation, her battle cry, I should say, of not today, mother, beep. She used this battle cry when she was actually in a physical altercation, right? When she was actually being abused by someone. But when I heard her story, I thought it was so powerful that, like, what if we all had a battle cry? What if we went through life having a battle cry, not for, creepy guy and predators, but really for the predator in our head, the creepy voice, the negative voice, the one that's telling us we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we'll never get that done. We're not good enough for the promotion. So why bother anyway? No one's going to listen to this podcast. So why am I bothering? Nobody cares, yada, yada, yada. That voice. We need a battle cry for that. We need someone to cheer us on. And guess what? That someone needs to be ourselves first and foremost, because looking for constant affirmation from others is probably the most exhausting and pointless thing that we can waste our time on. right? Affirming ourselves is going to be the best investment of our time. So I will put in the show notes a very powerful battle cry that I created that I have in the book that I have people stand up and say in all of my keynotes and programming because it's super fun. And I'll do it right now for you. Ready? I am strong. I am safe. I am sexy, damn it. I am bold. I am brave. I'm a badass and I know it. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am powerful beyond measure. World, you better move out of my way because I am on a mission to serve, to heal, and to lead. That's right. Enjoy it. Okay. That's the battle cry that I, like I said, have everyone stand up and say. It's something I say to myself. I also have tons of other battle cries. Every single day, I do it in a journaling practice. So that's your third menu item. Affirmations, battle cries, journaling, right? To create positivity. And you know what? I'm going to add a quick fourth. If none of those sound good to you, too corny, too woo woo, whatever, I don't care. Uh, Listen to a podcast, listen to a positive podcast, read a book, get on Audible, get yourself listening, right? And filling up your ears and your mind with other people's positivity, right? That's good too. But back to journaling, you can use the Art of Badassery book as journal prompts. There are journal prompts, exercises to do at the end of each chapter. And you can just start with those if you don't know what to write. But essentially, journaling there's tons of different ways to do it, right? Different practices. You can just dump all your thoughts out onto the page. You can write about what you want to happen, like a visualization exercise for the future. That's kind of what I do. I just start with a thought, whatever's on my mind, and then I just start affirming myself and I start writing affirmations and I start writing out what I'm going to accomplish. What are the things that are going to happen? What is great about my life? What is great about this world? Just anything positive that I can glom onto and just start going and going and going. It's like one thought feeds another and feeds another and feeds another. And before you know it, I have an entire page filled with affirming, life affirming thoughts. And it's so powerful first thing in the morning. So I commit to writing one full page in my journal. My journal are really 8.5 by 11 notebooks, right? I don't like those little tiny ones. So that is that. Let's move on to P number 3. What do you think it is? It's protein. I already said it. Okay. Why is it so important? Protein, as having a high protein breakfast is going to help you in so many different ways, mostly for focus, right? And for regulating your blood sugar and feeling satiated, right? I'll break that down a little bit, but just quick sidebar if you're out there going, I don't eat breakfast, I skip breakfast. Okay, no problem. This is not to say that you must eat breakfast first thing in the morning. Remember, this morning routine can be spread out. It doesn't have to be the first thing you do when you wake up. It's just part of your morning routine. Some people want to work out. Great. I highly encourage doing movement as part of your morning too. So I do. And then I have my protein after that. So whatever time you break your fast, whatever meal you have first is your breaking the fast, is your breakfast, that meal should be high protein. What is high protein? 20 to 25 grams at a minimum. All right. I'll actually get into that in a minute too. So, why should your first meal of the day be packed with protein? Like I said, it's going to increase satiety, make you feel satiated. And studies show when people have a high protein breakfast, they make better decisions throughout the day with their food, right? They're not looking for constant snacking. They're not searching for reward foods, right? Reward driven behavior. So, in fact, MRI scans have shown that eating a protein rich breakfast reduces the signals in the brain that control food motivation, right? Being motivated by food and reward driven behavior. This reminds me of a little drug on the market, a little popular drug on the market called Ozempic and other things like that, right? That's what they're talking about. They're talking about it kind of numbs that part of the brain that is constantly motivated by food. So people don't want to eat as much. They're not drinking as much. They're not looking for these addictive behaviors, sugars, etc. And that's why. But here's the deal. I'm not throwing shade to these drugs. I'm not even really, mentioning it other than to say by having a high protein breakfast kind of mimics what that drug is doing for folks, in general. So, how does that work? There are two opposing hormones that you should know about, leptin and ghrelin. For every hormone in the body, there's usually an opposing hormone. So, leptin is that satiety hormone. It makes you feel satiated. And ghrelin, think of like a hungry gremlin, very hungry all the time. That is your hunger hormone. So, when that's high in the body, you want to eat more. You're driven to eat. When leptin is high in the body and ghrelin is low, then you are feeling satiated. Boom, right? Energized. You don't need to constantly be looking for food. So, again, studies show that heavy protein breakfasts will increase leptin levels throughout the morning. And I know it myself, right? I remember experimenting back in the day with like oatmeal. Oh, oatmeal's such a good breakfast, right? So we hear, but I always noticed that just 2 hours later, like 11 o'clock, I would be hungry again. So I was like, something's going on here, right? And then it wasn't until that I started my morning routines of having my protein packed smoothie that I then realized my body needs protein in the morning. And again, studies show that most people will thrive on a protein packed breakfast. How many grams? Like I said, at least 20, 25. I think was where the studies showed had the best effects, starting the best effects. Okay. And also the amount of grams depend on your goals, depend on your weight, depend on your activity levels, all of that. My morning smoothie has anywhere from 20 to 22, 23-ish grams of protein that I've designed specifically that way, and I feel satiated for hours. I feel great. I feel energized, and I'm not looking to snack. And my next meal is lunch. What are other ways to get protein in your morning breakfast? What are other ways to get protein into your first meal? Think eggs, Greek yogurt, nuts, nut butters, things like that. Chia seed pudding, love that. I have a handout for you. It has my 12 food rules, right, that I share with everyone because as a clinical nutritionist who no longer practices clinical nutrition or making meal plans for people or anything like that, I just wanted everyone to have access to 12 simple food rules that if you just followed this way of eating with these guidelines, you'll never have to diet. You won't have to worry so much, right? And in that handout, there's also breakfasts, protein packed breakfast ideas, as well as healthy snack lists. So go ahead and grab that at pages.jennifercassetta.com/food rules. Again, it's pages.jennifercassetta.com/food rules. I'll have it in the show notes as well. Okay, everyone. So, real quick recap, the 3 Ps of a badass morning routine. Start with presence, cultivating presence, then next positivity, and then next protein. And guess what? It doesn't even have to be in that order either. I just suggest that order because I find it's the easiest and most logical, right? First thing in the morning, you want to be present. Then it takes a little more effort to be positive than it does present. But then you want to amp up. You want to get yourself ready. You want to really motivate yourself with some positive affirmations. Then there might be time, again, between whatever you do next and you're breaking the fast. But when you finally do, make sure there's some protein in there, and that will give you lasting energy, satiety, high levels of leptin, and, just feeling like an overall badass. That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hey, I want to hear from you. What do you like about this podcast? Leave a review. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a podcast episode. Thanks so much. And that's all for now.